Hello and welcome back to Lord of Heroes News on Nyris Gaming. The next update on August 20th, next week, is going to be a pretty major one because not only one major system of the game is getting a revamp, but two are. One of which I am excited about, but also mildly annoyed because it's going to push back the next tier list for the contract heroes a little bit because that's the system that's getting reworked, and I'm going to have to capture some more footage, of which I already had 80% of it about, so in order to get the new details, that will be a bit later than intended. But also, when one first looks at the news panel and notices that there are 4 new heroes announced, one gets a bit worried that there are going to be 4 new featured banners. However, 3 of these are not summons, they are a new contract hero rotation, which is the last thing I was expecting, so we'll be getting into that later, and we'll get into the details of the update now. First things first, hero balancing of Water Bianca, Earth Lucilica, who I was hoping for, based on the details I was getting for the tier list. A couple more on that are going to need it, in my opinion. Light Lyrae and Dark Sulfy. Water Bianca is going to get a 90 to 100% chance to inflict decay defense for 3 turns if the target is fire elemental on her active skill, adding to her usefulness as a debuffer. She's also going to be added onto the Link Summon banner for this update, and furthermore, her burst, which is an AoE, is also going to have the addition of dealing 330% more damage to the target if it is under the effect of Decay Defense, and a 50% chance to inflict exposed weakness on the target for 2 turns, up to 100% chance if the target is fire. And the Spirit cost, which used to go from a 4 down to a 3, now goes from a 3 down to a 2. So she's going to be a much better water supporter sniper, and is likely going to do a lot more damage as a sub-DPS. Earth Lucilica, going through my contract hero tier list, was ending up in near a B or A tier. I would say this would push her into an A to S tier just on speculation. She was already decent, but did not have very much versatility. She is still not going to have terribly much versatility, but her damage is going to spike massively, as her 2, which is already on a 2-turn cooldown at max, is getting an additional stacking attack buff, which stacks up to 7 times of 25%, goes up from 15 at level 5 now, and the burst gauge gain is consolidated into level 3. It's going to up her attack by a whopping 175%. On top of her relic that gives her crit damage, this is going to pair nicely against single target water enemies, particularly the raid boss. And on top of that, her burst is becoming more useful, gaining an additional 200% more damage against water enemies, and massively increased damage if her health is above 99%, harkening back to Cessair, who we still have not gotten a rerun of, or relics. That's all that reminds me of. She should definitely be the next rotation for the featured banners. She has yet to get one since her release. Lucilica's base health is also going up from 2536 to 2846, so her shield from her burst is going to be far more effective. Light Lyrae changes are going to be pretty simple. Her burst's conditional damages are just getting a bump, so they do more. Her base defense as well, making her more durable than she was before because she was fragile. Going from 286 to 441, nearly 200 increase. Dark Sulfy is a bit more complicated. Her 1's team action gauge boost, based on critical hit, the crit part of that is being removed, and additionally it will fill the action gauge of dark elemental allies by an additional amount. I do not know why damage dealt increased based on user speed is blue, from attack strength is increased based on user speed. I don't know if those things are actually different, or if they just changed the wording. It'll be interesting to note if those are actually different based on wording. Like here, the exact same wording with the damage dealt versus attack strength increasing based on speed. The cooldown of her 2 is also going down from 5 down to 4, all the way down to 4 down to 3 now. Her burst is getting massively changed here. The attacks all enemies ignores defense is the same, but the confusion that it used to inflict on her is gone. They do not show her level increases changing based on that, because a couple of those reduce the chance of the confusion. So we don't know what that's going to be. But now the attack deals 300% more damage against light enemies if there are 4 or more allies on the field. The damage dealt increases based on her speed, not the attack strength, still don't know, as discussed. Then there is a 10 to 100% chance to grant resolve to the user for 2 turns if there are 3 or more dark allies on the field. Maybe the resolve chance is what's replacing the confusion reduction. That would make sense. From what I remember when she first came out, people were saying she's kind of underwhelming. This will probably help her be more in a decent to good space. Attack-based shields are being improved. I would imagine they're just stronger, probably better scaling, not very specific. But Water Charlotte, Water 9, Dark Lumi, Olivia Fire, Dark Charlotte, Fire Rosanna, Earth 9, Water Dragon Knight Helga, and Dark Brant. I always felt the attack-based shields were kind of underwhelming, especially compared to health-based shields. Hopefully this brings them a bit more in line and makes them more effective. Fire Charlotte's burst skill is going to lean more into the shielding aspect of it when it comes to AI targeting. So she will try to shield allies even if there are not low health or even any health lost on the team. Keep that in mind on AI-controlled battles like the raids. A little buff for cleric shields will be implemented. I wonder if this is going to actually be in the wordage going forward, or if this is just a secret thing that will be in there now. Shields will now last an extra turn if the shielded ally is of the same element as the cleric. This will apply to Fire Charlotte, Water Mei-Ling, Dark Mei-Ling, Water Beretta, Earth Ralagon, Earth Charlotte, Earth C2, and Light Sifrid. Just all of those clerics immensely better with one minor change. Come to think of it, those shields are gonna almost be a little bit excessive if they do that, because most of them can keep them up indefinitely anyways. Although, this will allow them a freed up turn to use their bursts and their ones if need be. Because Sifrid's is every other turn, and it lasts 2 turns. Now, if it's on a light ally, it'll be 3 turns, and she can do other things and not worry about missing that vital shielding turn. That's actually something I encounter quite frequently. I love this change. Focus defense granted by clerics will also be improved for the exact same way as the shielding. Extra turn if the buffed ally is of the same element. Only thing that this buff is not as effective is because it's only on 2 characters so far. Those being Dark Vanessa and Dark Mei-Ling. They started introducing that and then didn't introduce it on anyone else. It's a little weird. Or for any other elements. So maybe we'll be seeing that in the future? Not on any of the 4 new heroes. And from one of the revamped systems, the following heroes now have aptitudes. They are going to be purchasable from the revamped Obelisk. It's basically a bunch of your free starting heroes, those being Earth Olivia, Earth Schneider, Water Fram, and Water Helga. I was wondering how they're going to go about this, because you can't summon them. And then a bunch of the renowned heroes being Light Mei-Ling, Fire Astrid, Fire Lucilica, Light Olivia, Dark Sulfie, Dark Astrid, which is going to be nuts, Dark Aslan, and Earth Charlotte. Earth Charlotte's at the end there, that's weird. That's in the wrong grouping. No Dark Mikhail, I notice, which is a little weird. Maybe they're going to have rotations per season, if they still do seasons. The 4 new heroes are Light Rosanna, who is a sniper. She is going to be a featured summon banner, but just her. Light Helga, who is going to be commander, so not only are the new contract rotation going to be not the normal elements, 2 of them are, but there are going to be 2 commanders you can recruit from this for free, just by logging in for 30 days consecutively. Fire Walter, who is a guardian, and Water Commander Aslan. Light Rosanna's banner will be going from August 20th to October 1st, and of course same for her relic banner. Now we get to the Obelisk revamp. This is happening on the 20th, so basically anything before that, you need to get in before then, because after that all your tokens will be removed, and the whole system will reset. It's going into more of an elemental tower kind of system, and you will have a daily 3 amounts of entry. Here's the table of the rotation, going from Monday starting. Dark, Fire, Water, Earth, Light. Saturday will have the base 3 elements, and Sunday will have Light and Dark. Little glimpse of the UI here. Now you will be gaining a new type of currency from doing these. 1 of 6 different ones. 5 for the elements and then 1 universal one. There's going to be a universal shop and a elemental shop. And the elemental shop is where you're going to be getting the Spiritus gems for the aptitude unlocks of those heroes we mentioned. As well as, there is no actual table for this, so we just have to go off these 2 graphics. You can get high elemental runes. It appears 15 monthly, probably for each element. A soulstone a month of each element, and the Spiritus gems. And in the universal shop, you can get a whole 2 pulls worth of linkstones monthly. However, in this universal shop, there's also what appears to be 500,000 renown monthly, which is more than even the Calamity's Cradle. a Mystic Soulstone and a Primeval Soulstone monthly, and what appears to be 9 class runes monthly for each. So there are a lot of good things you can get from this. Now moving on to contract summons. It's under the new feature Eternal Contracts, which is why this is amazing as far as I can tell. On top of this new rotation of Fire Walter, Light Helga, and Water Aslan. Little interesting that they did not go with Earth Helga, given that would stay in line with the rotation, and we do not have Earth Helga yet. You will unlock Eternal Contracts after completing all 10 hero contracts, and now you can enter a contract with a listed hero, and it appears you can choose anyone. The only stipulation I found is that you cannot do the same hero twice in a row, so you can't just focus down one hero for 5 months, but they list what their aptitude levels are at, so this is how more easily you can focus certain heroes' aptitudes from the contract list. And the fact that it appears you can just do this indefinitely gets rid of a lot of the worry of the lack of contract summon tickets and the fact that you can only choose 2 per rotation initially. This is going to be a wonderful system, I think. I just wish they would do some retroactive Spiritus Gems, because if this was in effect for as long as the game's been out, I think I would have, from what I calculated, around 40 Spiritus Gems. I would like those. Probably not going to get them, but I would like them. That'd be nice. But yes, players can contract with heroes they have already recruited, and you will get Spiritus Gems or Link Traces on the last day of the contract. I would imagine the Link Traces if you already have max aptitude. Same rules for all the normal contracts beforehand. As with all the other contract heroes, the new trio will have their relic chests added to the Link Shop. We are getting a Popo Bounty Hunt from the 20th to the 30th. Lyrae's Avalon Night Edition outfit is going to be getting a rerun. There is going to be a mission pass for the Eternal Contracts starting on the 20th going through the 24th of September. And normally I slightly scoff at these, but the free one, actually, has contract summon tickets in it. An actual whopping total of 30 for free for the contract summon banner. Which that is not going away, that is sticking around. So on top of the Eternal Contracts, you also still have the contract summon banner to go through. And of course, let's take a gander at all 4 of the new heroes. New Water Commander Aslan of the contract summons. Going to have a hefty amount of health at level 70, an average amount of attack and a good amount of defense, and a little bit above average speed. This one is going to attack one enemy, 90 to 100% chance to reduce the action gauge of the target by 10%, and an additional 20% if the target is fire elemental. The raid boss is affected by these, just not quite as much, so maybe he will be highly effective in the new Fire Obelisk Tower. On top of all those Obelisk changes, this is going to lean even heavier into what they've been going for lately with the elemental teams and the elemental focus. Everything is very focused on elemental advantage these days. His 2, cooldown of 4 going down to 3, grants taking the lead to him, stacking up to 4 times, increases the speed of all allies for 2 to 3 turns, good for a team up with Water Walter, and increases the attack strength of all water elemental allies for 2 to 3 turns. They're going very heavy on the attack strength specifically lately as well, instead of attack up, which a little awkwardly is a bit redundant with Water Meiling, given she does attack strength as well. His burst is going to be a 3 cost going down to 2, attacks the selected enemy, deals up to 5 times additional damage based on target's max health, so he could potentially be a sub DPS, and then triggers the following effects based on the number of stacks of taking the lead. 1 or more, fills the action gauge of the ally with the highest attack by 30%, 2 or more, an additional 30%, and then 4 or more, an additional 40%, bring it to 100%, but only if the ally is water elemental. So not only is he going to be a potential sub DPS, but a pocket booster for your actual DPS. Speed passive and damage against fire elemental enemies passive. Commander ability of increased burst gauge in the Calamity's Cradle by 100 to 200 to 300%, which after the rework I'm finding might be a lot more helpful than I initially realized, even with snipers. Base Relic increases defense. Refined, 70 to 80% chance to reduce attack strength of the target for 1 to 2 turns. And the Divine is going to be his damage 1, increases his damage against fire enemies by 35 to 90%. Fire Walter, Guardian, is going to have lots of health at level 70. Underwhelming attack, but he doesn't need it. And kind of average defense and definitely above average speed. 1 single target attack, 80 to 90 to 100% chance to reduce attack strength of the target for 1 to 2 turns, and damage dealt increases based on user's max health. 2 is a cooldown of 3 down to 2 turns. AoE attack, 40% chance to inflict shock on each enemy, respectively for 2 to 3 turns, but 100% chance if they're earth. Additionally, increases speed of all allies for 2 turns, making him good for Fire Roselic, in tandem with Fire Ondel. Damage dealt increases based on max health. Yet another really good debuff ability for the Fire team. They already have Decay Defense on Fire Olivia, Scald on Aaron, Defense Down on Lumi, and now a shock mechanic in Walter. Fire team has a lot going for them. Is 3, spirit cost of 4 going down to 3 and 2. A lot of 2-cost bursts on Team Fire as well. This is an AoE attack, grants revenge to the user for 1 turn, deals 100% more damage if the target is under the effects of shock, and 200% more damage against earth enemies, and gives him resolve for 3 turns, and scales with max health, again with the resolve on guardians. Another speed passive and damage against earth elemental enemies passive. Basic relic is resistance. Refined is 50 to 100% chance to fill the action gauge of fire allies by 10 to 20% upon attacking, so even more supportive abilities. Or if you want to lean more into damage, you go with his Divine, with a 70 to 90% chance to grant him Pierce for 1 to 2 turns upon attacking. Light Commander Helga is definitely a DPS commander with her 10,000 health, 1,655 attack at level 70, so a good hefty amount there, and a decent amount of defense at 1255, and above average speed at 108. Her 1 attacks a selected enemy, and increases her attack by 10 to 15 to 25%, stacking up to 3 times. Good old stacking attack. Love to see it. 2 appears to be a cooldown of 2 turns by default. Love that. AoE attack grants her taking the lead up to 5 times, fills the action gauge of all allies by 20 up to 30%, and the action gauge of allies under the effects of invincibility by an additional 40 up to 50%. Definitely leaning Team Light in the invincibility direction with Lyra's buffs and Light Vanessa. Could be a nice combination there. This also generates a shield for all allies based on the user's attack for 2 turns. I would imagine by default is that better version of the attack shield. Good old action gauge boosting DPS. Not a combination we see very frequently. The burst is going to cost 4 going down to 3. AoE attack deals up to 200% more damage when there are fewer targets, and 50% more damage for every stack of taking the lead on the user up to 250, and grants her invincibility for 1 turn if there are 3 or more light allies on the field. Critical hit damage, passive and dark damage passive. Commander ability is going to increase the crit hit damage of all light allies by 15 up to 28% within the Calamity's Cradle. Also notice that there's only Dark Buryu for the Wendigo fight commander ability. Everyone else has been Calamity's Cradle, and literally nobody even Water Rosanna for the Silent Straits. Seems a bit silly. Base Relic is going to increase crit rate. Refined Relic is going to give her a 60 to 100% chance to increase the crit hit damage of each light ally respectively for 1 to 2 turns upon attacking. Or you can give her Pierce with her Divine with a 70 to 90% chance to give it for 1 to 2 turns upon attacking, in an identical vein to Firewalter. Weirdly, Light Rosanna, a sniper, is going to be in a very similar vein to Light Helga, with a little over 10,000 health and 1,700 attack at level 70, and a hefty 1,400 defense and 105 speed. Her 1 is going to be a single target attack, filling the action gauge of the ally with the highest attack by 20%, and an additional 10 to 15% if they're light. So not only high attack, but some supportive abilities. And very similarly to Helga, more action gauge boosting on her too, with a cooldown of 3 down to 2 turns, fills the action gauge of all allies by 30 to 40%, 60% chance to inflict exposed weakness on each enemy respectively for 2 turns, or 100% chance if they're dark, 100% chance to inflict decay defense on each dark enemy respectively for 2 turns. Exposed weakness is going to pair well with Light Lyra as well, given she is debuff based. Burst is going to cost 4 going down to 3, AoE attack, dealing up to 320% more damage when there are fewer targets, additionally grants revenge for 1 turn, and increases her attack by 50% if she attacks a dark elemental enemy, stacking up to 5 times. This is a weird new way of stacking attack, and I'm curious if it's each dark enemy she attacks, or if she used her burst and there was a dark enemy involved, no matter how many, it's just one stack. But if it's like the Silent Straits with the 4 add enemies and the Sea God, if she attacks with her burst once and hits all 5 of them, if it's instantly 250% with 5 stacks, that would be crazy. She's going to have an attack passive and a dark damage passive. Base Relic is going to increase her crit rate, just like Helga. Her Refined is going to give her an 80 to 100% chance to grant action ready to each light ally respectively for 1 to 2 turns. Upon taking a turn, constantly keeping them gaining action gauge when hit, and increases her attack by 3 to 10% for every light ally on the field. Or if you're wanting more of the damage, you just go with the Divine, which does the same with the attack increase for every light ally, but a bit more at 11 to 18%. That is going to do it for Lord of Heroes news today on Nyris Gaming. That was a lot, and I am thoroughly excited for pretty much all of it. Let me know in the comments which contract hero you are wanting to go for first in the trio and or aptitudes with the new Eternal Contract system, and or in the revamped Obelisk shop. Sorry the contract hero tier list video is taking so long, and it's going to take longer now, but I will try to make it good as I possibly can. I actually have damage footage for each character, at least the ones that were designed to lean into that, so my decisions are a bit more informed this time. Obviously won't have access to the new trio for a while, so that'll be like a part 2 later down the line. But whatever I make next, I shall see you in the next one.